edit it in. Go.
Seamless.
Thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really lovely talking to you both.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke,
and Dave.
340-somethings, reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
we look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is stupid and contagious. Right, welcome to episode 67 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. Speaking to Nigel Powell from Unbelievable Truth later. It's a good one. So that was supposed to be last week. So I've had a bit of a dodgy throat. So this episode was supposed to come out last week. So Luke jumped in at the last minute and saved us. Went down really well, that one, actually. People enjoyed
Did
it.
it break records?
We did get an influx of listeners.
Yeah.
Well, I got something I need to say about that. So, I shared it on this breakcore group that I belong to on Facebook.
They're not going to like any of this, are they?
Well, no, but they told me, they informed me, and I had absolutely no idea. Alec Empire, who I talked about a lot on the episode. Apparently, he's been posting insane pro-Israel Zionist shit all over his social media for the last year or whatever.
So that set your woke alarm off.
It did, and I went. It wouldn't have changed. I would have still done it, but I would have mentioned it at the time if I'd have known. But I had no idea. Right. But I'm mentioning it now. But
so you're setting the record.
I wouldn't be here today if I'd known.
It's just a bit disappointing.
Dave wouldn't have turned up.
Fuck no.
It's just a bit disappointing, right? He's just completely done a 180 from being anti-fascist kind of. They had a song called Nazi Hunters and shit back in the day, and now I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's a shame. Doesn't take away the excellence of the music, though.
Is that your new Smash t-shirt? You said
my new Smash t-shirt. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
nice.
Cheers, Ed. So I sent off for it. Ed sent me back. Nice little note. A couple of badges as well. Yeah. They
still do work, don't they? So yeah, I was supposed to go to Shine On, right? I was really looking forward to it. I was there. It was going to be good. I was looking forward to seeing some of the bands. You've got t-shirts done and everything, didn't I? Yeah.
Well, were you there or not?
Were you gonna? So wait. The plan was you were gonna walk around with it, stick your chest out, and get people to get on the QR code.
That's the back. So people would stand behind me and just.
And they'd be curious. And they'd be, "What's that about?" Scan it, and then you take them to the podcast.
That was the idea.
Clever, man.
Instead, I spent the day in bed feeling shit. So yeah, I was really disappointed actually because I would really have liked to have gone. And we were going to bring this Unbelievable Truth episode out just to coincide with their slot on the main stage. But unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen. So here we are now. So they would have already played. And I heard it went down really well.
Yeah.
So, these things happen.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought you were going to die, mate.
So did I. It was really horrible. It really was. It really was horrible.
I was a bit worried. He's not one to moan too much, is he, normally, about
No,
Neil, he's the biggest fucking hypochondriac going. What the fuck?
If I'm there, I never hear him mention it.
Come on. If he gets a flu attack for 30 days, he's on his back.
Never happened.
Doing not a single dance. Yeah.
That does lead me nicely into something else. Have you been watching that documentary on the boy bands? And that's not strictly 90s indie, but
I haven't watched that yet.
It's quite interesting.
What's it on?
It's a good watch. It's on BBC.
Can't get that. Yeah.
It's just about how they were treated back in the day in the boy bands, and they were just all fucked up people, aren't they? It's just quite an interesting watch.
Does it prove what we know about Westlife?
What, they're cunts?
Yeah.
Or does it not? Does it? Do they come across better?
Oh no, yeah, because they are. That's right. I forgot. Yeah, they are cunts, aren't they? They only spoke to Brian, really, who's not even in it anymore. He seemed like a bit of a twat, though. Yeah,
it's good when you have your preconceptions confirmed.
But Dave, you've been representing the podcast, haven't you? Been out and about going to gigs.
Well, I didn't have a T-shirt, unfortunately, but yeah, I was at
I'm
Shed 7.
I'm glad to see the return of the jerkin, though. I was just thinking about that this morning. I was cycling to work, and I was thinking, winter's coming. It's like the first cold day of the year over here. And I was like, I wonder if Dave's Jerkin's going to make a reappearance. And here it is.
Same
Here we
here.
are.
First cold day of
Makes
the
me-
year here too.
Makes me very happy, man. Go on,
So,
continue.
Yeah, tell us about your gig.
Well, they delivered. I can't say they didn't
Who?
deliver. They were brilliant.
You haven't
Shed
said who it
7.
is yet.
I have.
You didn't
I
say
did
that.
Sheds,
say, you
didn't
just weren't listening. You just interrupted me.
Got excited about the Jerkin. Come on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good, but they were they were brilliant musically, and that did a good show.
Yeah.
But you look around, you think, fucking hell.
We're
Everyone's-
old.
It's 90% men
It's a lot more
Yeah.
grey hair than it
in their
used to
late
be.
40s or 50s.
Yeah.
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 It's
It's the
kind of-
same as
It's fun. I enjoyed it, but it's not the same. It's a different thing. It's
there's not a lot of
like
moshing
a
going on. is there?
nostalgia gig, not really a gig. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
People trying to recreate what it was like back in the day, but you can't.
Did you crowd?
Crowd-
surf?
Crowd surf.
No.
Did you drink beer out of a shoe?
When did you ever do that back in the day?
Yeah. Just recreating
Dave probably
those
did.
days.
Fucking wild man, wasn't he?
Yeah, Cardiff, innit? Rugby boys, aren't they?
Yeah.
They'd have been drinking.
That's right.
beer
Sticking
out of
bottles of beer up their arse and stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't.
But like you say, it's a different thing. It's not. I don't think it is trying
Yeah.
to be the same
Yeah.
because they aren't crowd surfing and moshing. They're doing it in a different way, and that's cool, man. It's a different thing. You know, it's still a
Yeah.
gig. It's a different way of doing it.
It'd be nice if the young people got into these bands, though, like a new generation. That would be cool.
There was a few people, but I think they were there with their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we went out afterwards.
Oi, oi.
I like
went-
Cardiff. I like
Yeah.
going out Cardiff.
We went to the Club E4
Oh
Back.
god. You went to where?
That
Dave?
club.
Club E4 Back. It's the
Oh,
Welsh
yeah,
club.
yeah, yeah.
Indie night.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the one
Oh,
that
great.
we went to when I come to see you, is it?
I don't think we went there.
It's famous.
yeah,
I know about it.
Yeah, it's good. And we were queuing, and the bouncers were checking IDs, and then we got to the front, and my mate said, "Oh, you're going to check our IDs?" And he said, "No, we don't need to see your bus passes."
Brilliant.
And it was fun to go in, but we were old.
You're doing a Jaeger bombs.
Yeah. Red Bull and
No.
vodka.
Didn't do that.
Speaking of old, I got another year older when we were away.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, sorry. I was too ill to celebrate your birthday. Happy
Dude.
birthday.
Nothing happened. 48, knocking 50 now.
We have 50 next
Yeah.
year.
At least you still look 15.
No.
Yes, that's true. I've got to give a shout out to listener and John Bates. Do you know John from the Facebook page?
Yeah, I've seen him around.
He's based in Fukuoka in Japan, and he posts quite a lot
Right.
on the Facebook page. So here's the story for you. So do you remember in back when I think around the In Utero episode, when Dave was going on about that fucking Pink Floyd song about the cat, and
Ah,
Just
brilliant,
remembered it.
that, isn't it?
well, exactly.
You have
So
to
we're
put it
having
on
this-
the playlist now.
Well, this was the thing, right? So about the cat, and I was saying how shit it was and how much I fucking detest Pink Floyd. And then I said I wasn't going to put it on the playlist, and you kind of dared me not to. And in the end, I didn't. And instead, I put on a song called "I Hate Pink Floyd" by a band called the Born Shit Stirrers. So turns out John, who's catching up with the episodes, he listened to that episode, went to the playlist to see if I'd put on Pink Floyd, and that's his band, the Born Shit Stirrers.
That's
Oh,
good,
brilliant.
isn't it?
Yeah. So
And
and
you
I
didn't
listened to like I had no idea. I just like searched for "I Hate Pink Floyd" in Spotify, and I liked the song, so I put it on.
Brilliant.
And and just today, he's very, very kindly sent me some records. What a fucking legend, man! What a legend. So got
For
a
nothing.
single here, "Born Shit Stirrers." Got an album. Look at that. Scratch and Sniff is an
Yeah.
advertisement as well. People have a listen. And not only that, what a fucking guy. He sent me this. It's a one-off kind of Carter single from 1996 that people got free at a gig, Astoria,
Oh.
London. 20th of September 96, Astoria, London only. Signed by the
What
band.
did he give you that for?
God, he's a
Why did he
fucking
send
nice
you
bloke,
that?
man. What a legend. What a guy.
You should have
Cheers,
kept
John.
hold of that.
I think he's got 2 copies. I think he's got another
Right.
copy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good, though, isn't it?
But how nice is that, right? People are so
it's
nice.
good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's good music, man. So I'm going to put them on the playlist again to give them some exposure. Brilliant.
Yeah, I am disappointed about the show thing because it would have been nice to give that a bit of a mention this week, but I can't comment because I wasn't there.
No.
But, get involved in the comments if you went. Let us know how it was. It looked good, though. It did look good. I'm determined to get to the March one. So that looks good.
That looks amazing.
Can I just mention a dream I had in case anyone can analyse it for me who's listening?
Yeah,
Come on, Dave.
I was just dressed in a towel, nothing else.
God.
And Colin Firth sat next to me and was talking to me. And then
Fucking hell.
after a while, some security guys came and rescued me from him because apparently he was some kind of predator.
Okay.
Right.
And that's it. That was the dream.
That's fucking weird, you fucking nutcase.
I know.
Colin Firth, is he the one that's in Paddington? Is that him? No, he's the one. I always get mixed up with that guy that's in Paddington. They look the same, don't they?
Hugh. No, is it?
Yeah, it's not him. Okay.
No, Colin Firth. He's a huge star.
What bizarre dream.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's gay or not.
So did he touch your balls?
Well, it didn't get that far, but that's what the security guys were worried about.
It was on the cards, yeah.
For the purpose of the story, touch your balls.
So is this, maybe this is like some unspoken desire on your part, Dave? You want Colin Firth to touch your balls?
I don't think so.
I say embrace it, man. I say go for it.
I wish I hadn't brought it up now, actually.
I think there's only one way to, I think you need to recreate this. You need to get on Grindr. Basically, you need to ask someone to dress up as Colin Firth.
Get a Colin Firth lookalike off Grindr.
I don't want
to and touch your balls, and then then see what happens.
Victoria won't mind. She'll understand it's an experiment, and
exactly. And if you like it, go for it. If it's not for you, then you'll know.
Say, I get off my balls, Colin.
Say that.
Anyway, let's move on.
So, should we get into this week's episode? Nigel from Unbelievable Truth. I'll give you the Wikipedia thing.
I'll go on him.
British rock band. Again, lazier by the
British rock band.
But then it's up to people to put better stuff in there because it's run by the people in it, Wikipedia.
And it's not like it just says that, is it? You're just reading
it doesn't, but that's
a couple of words from it.
All right. So the Unbelievable Truth, named after a film called The Unbelievable Truth by Hal Hartley. Has anyone seen it?
Don't think so.
I didn't know that's what it's after.
I hadn't, but I watched it to prepare for this. It's quite good. It's just like an indie film, basically. It's just kind of quirky little kind of a indie movie. Pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, well, they often get compared to like Talk. I saw them compared to Crowded House as well. Kind of like
Talk. Did you say?
Yeah. I know you're a fan.
I love both. I love The Unbelievable Truth. So maybe there is some truth in that.
Kind of emotional, introspective, often acoustic indie rock is what I wrote. Yeah. All music? What did they have it down as? Oh, I like the all music adjectives. All music, bittersweet, brooding, cathartic, melancholy, nocturnal, reflective, somber, and wistful were the adjectives on there.
Nocturnal. What does that mean?
Nocturnal. Just good to listen to at night, man. Okay, so basically a three-piece. Today's guest, Nigel on drums, Jason on bass, and vocals and guitar, and the York brother of Tom York from
Who's he?
Radiohead, of course.
Yeah.
Bloke from Radiohead, little fella from Radiohead. Miserable bloke. And they also had a guitarist as well called Jim who played live but wasn't officially part of the band. And he talks about it a little bit in the interview, but basically they formed in around 1993 in Oxford out of a band called Illiterate Hands. Which is kind of the first band that featured Nigel and Andy York and also Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead.
Yeah, I like the whole that whole story. between
Yeah,
the two
yeah.
bands. It's
Yeah.
good.
And well, yeah, actually, there's a song called "Sharing," which apparently is like the first "The Unbelievable Truth" song, and I don't know if it counts as "Illiterate Hands" or "The Unbelievable Truth," but it features Johnny on it, Johnny
Oh,
Greenwood.
really?
Yeah, recorded in Nigel's bedroom, I guess, on his Porter studio, and that's on YouTube. It's pretty good. It's much kind of like louder, kind of much more kind of electric guitar, louder indie rock kind of style, more grungy, I guess. But it's worth having a listen to. It's good.
I will.
So anyway, so they kind of formed, as he said, even as they formed, Andy was already studying in Russia at this point in 1993. They formed by letter, just said, "Hey, we should start a band."
That's right. Pen pals.
Well, they were friends, but yeah, he was away studying in Russia.
Did you ever have any pen pals?
Dave,
I used to write to that.
you look like a pen pal guy.
Yeah, me and Kate used to write to each other a lot.
Oh, the girls we met in
Yeah.
Brighton that time. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. She used to send us some cool music suggestions and stuff. I remember.
Yeah, there's a girl I met in Barcelona. We used to write to each other as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, already mentioned on the podcast.
Yeah. They're still Facebook friends.
One of my mates from university, Fatima, she used to send me a letter every summer when we weren't at university. Yeah,
It's a nice
I
thing to
like
do,
that.
right?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Back to Barcelona.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. wasn't
Amazing, wasn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Love
It's
that
unforgettable, really, wasn't it? Like, almost like life-defining, wouldn't you say, Dave?
it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you reckon, Neil?
Yeah, carry on.
Oh my God, I completely forgot you didn't go.
Oh, God, yeah, you
I'm
weren't
so
there.
sorry.
Sorry, mate.
I had a
Sorry.
good time anyway. I was doing loads of stuff.
Yeah,
the class
I mean,
sizes were smaller while we were away, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think it's
You
just
get
me.
more attention from the teacher.
finish your Subbuteo Stadium.
Got to get a few merits in before everyone got back. You know.
All right, so they started the band. He came back and they started the band, and they're starting to do stuff. But basically, Andy went back to Russia, and on Wikipedia they say he had a crisis of confidence, and kind of decided to kind of leave the band and break it up. And I found like an old interview with Jason and Nigel. Of course, Andy's not in it because he basically hated doing interviews or any kind of promotion or anything like that. And they're kind of, both of them are kind of looking kind of awkward and sheepish in the interview, and they use the word anxiety basically as to describe which is I understand, right? It's not for everyone being a rock star, but if you want to make music, and I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have to do all the other shit,
It's not for most people. That's the thing, isn't it? That's what this boy band program was getting at. Like, all the
Obviously,
shit that
they're
comes
not
with
going
it.
to be able to get away with anxiety and stuff like
No,
that.
they have to get out there and do it. That's what
Yeah.
broke them. That's what I mean. They couldn't just hide away. They were just constantly thrown in front of interviewers and stuff. So do that. Yeah.
Or they're sacked.
I don't blame him.
Basically.
And apparently he was a translator for Greenpeace around that time.
That's good. So he's quite on this whole Russian thing.
Well, I'll tell you about that more in a moment. But he came back in 1996, and they released their first single on the Shifty Disco label. For some reason, Shifty Disco is really big in my mind. It's like this key 90s label. But have you heard of it?
No.
I think they only released singles, and I went onto Discogs. I was like, yeah, fuck, I loved Shifty Disco, and I didn't recognise any of the bands at all that were listed on Discogs except for The Unbelievable Truth. So I don't know why they're so kind of big in my mind, because I don't think they were. Anyway, they signed to Virgin for their first album in 1997 called Almost Here. A couple of big singles from got to number 21 in the charts, so it's pretty good,
That's
right?
a great album.
It is good.
I've been listening to that all week. It's just
Have you? Yeah, I thought it'd be your sort of thing. Yeah. It's
yeah,
great.
definitely.
Higher Than Reason, kind of the big single off it.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
a great song.
My favourite's Solved. Just sort of chipping with that. That's my favourite.
Sure, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Luke, I didn't think you'd like it, to be honest.
I'll be honest. It's not my favorite. It's a little bit mainstream for my taste. But there's a couple of tracks that same with Embrace, right? They're basically they're a bit too mainstream. But there's a few tracks that I'm like, oh fuck, man, that just gets me. You know,
Oh, that's
I
good.
love that. Yeah.
We can't say fairer than that. Carry on.
No, so I'm
Sorry
not going
for
to claim to be their
interrupting.
biggest fan, but yeah. Played on Jules Holland. There's some good clips of that on YouTube as well. They made their second album in 1998 called Sorry Thank You, or one word, Sorry Thank You. But we talked about it a little bit in the interview, but basically Virgin refused to release it, and it didn't actually come in. They ended up dropping the band, and the album finally came out on Shifty Disco in 2000, even though they'd made it 2 years earlier.
Right.
And anyway, by this time, Andy had kind of broken up the band anyway, and gone to continue his Russian studies.
What's his obsession with Russia?
Well, yeah, I think he's pretty much an expert on it. So he got a
it sounds
PhD
like,
in 2014 on politics and business, in government, it's called, basically. A PhD in government from the London School of Economics. Do you want to know the title of his PhD thesis?
Go on.
No, not really.
It's called State-Led Coercive Takeovers in Putin's Russia, explaining the underlying motives and ownership outcomes.
Is he for or against?
Well, here's the thing. So I read the abstract. I didn't read the whole thesis. I just read the abstract. It's all PhD theses are available online. And basically, he seems to argue that Russia isn't a kleptocracy as is commonly thought.
Well, it sounds like he might know more than most. So
It does.
But I tell you what, after the whole Israel thing, I've just questioned anything we've ever been told now by our government. So I'm not as anti-Russia as I was, before.
there's two sides to most stories, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not like I support Putin and Russia or anything, but I'm definitely questioning everything now.
Yeah.
After that,
It's probably not as clear cut as it looks from the outside.
No. But there you go. That's his PhD. So yeah, I mean, although he did make a solo album, Andy did in 2008 called Simple, and I think the other band members kind of all contribute to it as well. Also, Andy and his brother Tom, they sang together on a solo track that Tom did, All for the Best, which is
Oh, did they?
It's really good, really good song. It's a cover, but it's really, really, really cool song.
do you reckon they see each other on Christmas Day, play?
But it's fun around their house.
Family games.
But it's a barrel of laughs in the York household.
It's a bit like us. I like to have a laugh, but my it's not exactly upbeat.
Yeah, well,
No.
let's talk about your music. So you've showed us you think you put it up on the Facebook page as well,
I didn't
right?
mean to just shoehorn that in. I didn't mean to.
No. You're good at this shit, man. You're good at that.
I honestly didn't this time.
Everything's under control, Neil. You know what you're doing.
Check out The Stay on Bank. Are you on Spotify? Can I put it on the playlist?
No, I haven't put it on Spotify yet.
Put it on there.
I'll try and do it.
Check out The Stay. Pretty good. Dave, did you listen to the tracks Neil put out?
Oh, I only heard one of them. I didn't know there was
on there.
Multiple.
There's two on there. How would you describe the sound, Neil?
I don't know, because they're both quite different tracks, but I can't really decide the sort of music I want to do, so I'm just going to put it all on there.
I thought what he'd done is he'd listened to your German hardcore episode last week, and that's how he came up with that track.
Sure.
One of those tracks is like 14 years old. I just haven't put them up anywhere. So,
if anyone listened to the Our Final Invention bonus podcast over the summer, the sound reminded me of that a little bit, kind of like a dark kind of electronic.
That's a big compliment. But hopefully
that's good, man. I really enjoyed it. It's great.
But yeah, it's just somewhere I can put my stuff.
I'll stick it on Spotify by tomorrow, and I'll put it on the playlist.
All right, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, just going back to that, just because you write sort of introspective, sort of moody music doesn't necessarily mean that you're like that all the time.
Where was I? They released a compilation album called Misk, as a miscellaneous music, in 2001. B-sides and live recordings, some good stuff on there. Jason, also Jim, the live guitarist guy, they joined a band with other Oxford musicians called some members of Ride, some members of the Candy Skins, who get a mention
Oh,
in the
cool.
upcoming interview. Called Nine Stone Cowboy. Nigel, our hero today, he formed the Sad Song Company with Jason. Had a band called Dive Dive, and most famously and successfully joined Frank Turner's band, who toured all over the world and played the 2012 Olympics, which we talk about in the interview coming up.
Isn't it?
Yeah. The band reformed very briefly just for some one-off gigs in 2005 and 2007. And they played anniversary gigs in 2023. There's some clips on YouTube and it looks really good. They played Shine On last weekend. And as he tells us in interview, they got a brand new album coming out next year.
Exciting.
Which will be
Look forward to
their
that.
first one in, will it be 25 years when it comes out next year? First one in 25 years. So, it's all going on, basically.
All right. Let's have a listen to the interview and then have a chat afterwards. Here's Nigel Powell from The Unbelievable Truth. Enjoy. Nigel, thanks so much for coming on. Where do we find you at the moment? How are things? What are you up to these days?
Busy bits and it's kind of bits and pieces busy, really, because I'm in 3 bands. I'm kind of managing 2 of them. So in the immediate past, I've been finishing off mixing the new Unbelievable Truth album. Which is coming out early next year.
Okay.
Kind of beginning the setup for the release of that. Sorry, what were you going to say there?
What more can you tell us about that? That's pretty exciting.
Well, it's obviously a huge secret. No,
come on.
It's I don't know what to say. It's a bunch of songs that we've put together in an album where it's we're between the 3 of us, we're very excited about it and feel like it's kind of the best thing we've done. It's got some of that feeling of almost here, but it's a little bit more sophisticated in some ways. But yeah, we're all very kind of like excited that we've got this thing that nobody's heard yet. That we're trying to get out into the world in the best way.
How long has that been in gestation?
In a way, not that long. Maybe a year and it's October, so a year and a half, kind of. It was kind of the first vague possibility of anything like this happening was about 2 years ago. It was my maybe it was 3 years ago. My 50th birthday. For my birthday, obviously, what I wanted to do was play a gig, so I got some people together, and Andy and Jace came along, and we played a few songs, and amongst some other stuff. And I've always kind of thought that, Andy's my best friend. Andy was always my best friend. We can get into the history more if you want. You can to me, but I always felt he was kind of reluctant. He loved music, but there was lots about doing it kind of professionally, properly, that made him uncomfortable. So I haven't pushed him on that for a long time, and I always kind of thought that I'd ask him to do something like play my 50th gig, and he'd go, I don't think I want to do that. But he was like, yeah, let's do it, and had a great time. And then it kind of tailed off a bit, and then my daughter discovered Unbelievable Truth. Basically, she's grown up now. She's 23.
Yeah.
And last year she asked if we'd play her birthday party.
That's
and
great.
again, I phoned Andy and was expecting him to go, I don't want to play her birthday. And he came back instantly and went, yes, that would be great. It didn't happen in the end, but we got together and rehearsed. And as soon as we started rehearsing, we almost couldn't stop ourselves writing. Literally, the first thing that happened at one of the first rehearsals was Jay started playing something, I started playing something, Andy joined in, and it was like, that sounds great. And that's something that's on the album.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
What did your Sorry, what did your daughter think of the music? Was she a big fan?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, I was surprised that she hadn't heard it before, even though we'd broken up. We'd broken up before she was born, so I mean, that's kind of fair. But I guess I just didn't play it around the house very much. I'm not. I put on my music all the time. Hey, what are we going to listen to today? Let's listen to me.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, she seems to really like it, and she's got great taste in music. So
obviously, yeah.
There you go.
But that's really amazing that it came together again so quickly and easily after however many years, right? 20 odd years. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little, but yeah, it's kind of 18 years because the three of us worked together on Andy's solo album.
Right.
2006. That was recorded.
That was still a while back, right?
But yeah, still a while back. But there is something about the chemistry when the three of us are in a room together that is, to me, feels incredibly magical. It's just instant. Like when we were recording when we were writing the record, me and we're kind of disparate geographically now. I live near Birmingham. Andy lives down in Tunbridge Wells, and Jason is still near Oxford. So we would congregate at Andy's house because Andy's got the youngest kids. I remember there was so we were writing and we were going through things that we'd done before, and it was like kind of 10 to 11. And I said, all right, I'm usually the sergeant major, but I was like, all right, everybody, let's just kind of call it a night at that point. And just before I turned the keyboard off, because I play piano usually when we're writing, I kind of played through things, and Jason went, ooh, and played along with it. And like 15 minutes later, we had one of the best songs on the album. And it was like, that's just kind of, and that's what I'm used to with those guys. We're kind of, we're on enough of the same wavelength that we're kind of all pushing in the same direction, but we're on enough of a different wavelength that we're always surprising each other, which is what, for me, collaboration is all about. I don't want to, if I bring an idea to the band, I don't want it to sound exactly like it sounds in my head. Because,
that's it. Yeah,
that's kind of boring. I want to play it to Jace, and he'll play something over it, and I'll go, I totally didn't hear it like that.
Yeah, that's the beauty.
But that inspires me more as well. It goes, oh, if you're doing that, then it can do this, and then Andy will sing, and it just sounds like a record as soon as Andy sings.
I mean, you're presented as a multi-instrumentalist. How many instruments do you play? Everything.
Well, no. Anything that you have to blow into, I'm not so strong with. Although I did, I mean, in a totally overly cocky way, in another band, there was a song that had a violin solo on, and we were trying to figure out how to do it. And I said, I used to play record. I'll try it on record.
Sure.
And I mean, I kind of learned it for a few times. We did it twice. Once at the festival in front of quite a few thousand people. It was rubbish. It was squeaky, embarrassing, primary school stuff. And then I said, I'm not doing that again. So no, I mean, drums is and always has been my main thing.
Yeah.
Close second is piano and anything that's got black and white springy bits on it. And then I play guitar and bass as well. So basically, I only play the rock and roll instrument.
The rock and roll stuff, the good stuff.
Just how is it? Yeah.
Is it a natural thing? I'm whatever the opposite of a natural musician is what I am. I have no talent whatsoever. I mean, how do you learn these different things? Is it like an intuition?
I think once you've got the idea of how music works, sometimes it's not. For me, it wasn't too difficult to go. So you've got low notes and high notes, and then the notes in between, and you figure out how they work together. So like I learned piano when I was young. I had lessons, which didn't go very well. I've never done very well with lessons because when I was maybe 6, my parents got a piano in the house, and I just started bashing away, kind of totally tunelessly, and eventually vaguely tunefully. And then they were like, well, we should get him lessons. And I got lessons, and the amount I played at home just went down and down and down until I was barely playing anything. And then I stopped lessons, and the amount I played at home went up and up and up again. So it does always tend to be an intuitive thing for me, which has been bad in a way, because a couple of times I've had a few people who've asked if I can teach them drums. And I find that quite difficult, because I just wanted to go put on a record, hit things until it sounds vaguely like a record.
Just do that and charge them 50
That's everything
quid.
you need. Yeah. Do that and then kind of continue doing it for 30 years, and then you'll be good.
Simple as that.
But,
That's pretty good.
but yeah, I mean, once I kind of, you have the idea of the piano and where the notes are, I think in terms of stringed instruments, I started playing bass first, just because I liked level 42, and I wanted. So yeah, I started playing a lot of that.
Nice.
And that kind of went, oh, so that note there on the fretboard is that note on the piano, and if I want to go up an octave, it's there. And it's you just kind of, it's like learning one language, or possibly a dialect. It's like learning English in school and then going to Newcastle and trying to figure out what everybody's saying. It's not a completely foreign language, but you have to tune yourself in.
Ooh, I like that analogy. All right.
Yeah, I do.
All right, let's go right back to the beginning then. In Oxford, can you tell us about your first bands?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't really motivated to be a musician on my own. It was I wasn't exactly bullied into it, but I've got an older brother. My brother's 3.5 years older than me, and he's quite a dominant type.
Sure.
Anyway.
That's what big brothers do. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a guitarist. And he needed a drummer, and there was a point one summer when we were on holiday, our family home got burgled, and it was lots of irreplaceable stuff, like my mum's engagement ring and things like that.
Oh wow.
So mum was they got the insurance money from it, and mum was like, well, that's no point in me buying another engagement ring. What am I going to do with this? And my brother Adrian said, I think you should get Nigel a drum kit, because I need a drummer in my band. and I was like, okay. so they got me a drum kit and a book.
Wow.
Teach yourself to play drums, and I turned out to have a bit of an aptitude for it. So my first
twist of fate.
My first band was being ordered about by my brother, playing
right,
basically prog rock covers. Our first gig involved Genesis and Marillion and a band called IQ as well. So
wow.
Any footage of that anywhere?
No, I'm really I'm annoyed, because I had a cassette recorded, just from the back of the room for years and years, and I don't know where it's gone now. Like my very first kind of 2 or 3 gigs I had on cassette.
Yeah.
At some point they've
might turn up at some point.
Yeah. Was that the band with Johnny Greenwood in, or was that a earlier one?
That was later on. So I was probably 11 at that point, and then
it's ridiculously young. Yeah.
And then
That's nuts.
I lived in London at that point, kind of super suburban South London. So it wasn't until I was 13 that we moved to Oxfordshire, to Abingdon.
Right.
And that was when I went to school in Abingdon and met Andy. It was actually, I was quite gregarious when I was 12, and then I went to this new school and totally hormones and being in a completely new place and not knowing anybody. I was like, it was instant introvert. So the only way I managed to kind of come out of myself and start talking to people was as part of the move, because my dad had got a professorship in Oxford, so it was like, we've got to move.
Ooh.
But my mum felt kind of guilty about it because I was miserable. So I managed to get them to buy me a Porter Studio, which was like a little cassette-based box that you could record things on. So I sidled up to people at school who were talking about a drum machine and said, Actually, I've got a porter studio, and I'd love to try and record people. So that was my entry into Gunge's social ecosystem. And then this kid came up, 13 years old, goes, "Hi, I'm the manager of one of the school bands," and he introduced me to them. That was Johnny and Andy, who were in a band called Illiterate Hands. That was with a drum machine, and me and Johnny bonded over the fact that we both used the same drum machine, which was an add-on for the ZX Spectrum computer. You could plug it into the back, and it made drum noises, which it's very cool. It's cool. You guys need a proper drummer. Why don't I drum for you and join that band properly? So that's kind of how I got to know Johnny.
That's great. What did the band sound like?
Kind of, I was trying to think of a way of describing this without sounding rude, but I suppose I was in the band, so I can sound rude. It was quite twee English indie. I mean, if you imagine like
that's Luke's favourite kind of indie.
Are we talking like C86 style jangly indie boy stuff, or
in places? But it was kind of. I find it hard to describe. Some of it sounded more like a slightly more rocking outtake from the soundtrack to Trumpton, the TV show. So,
right. Interesting.
But I did notice early on that basically you can do almost anything, and when Andy sings on it, it still sounds like a record, even though he was only 14 at the time. He already had that voice that just kind of went, this kind of sounds like stuff I hear on the radio, even though we're just 14. And then Johnny's writing then developed quite quickly as well, and by the end it was a little bit more interesting, more in the jangly, we all love the Smiths kind of way.
Sure.
The school bands of that era went for.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. That's great. There's a photo on the internet claiming to be the first ever picture of Radiohead, and it said it's taken in your bedroom. Is that right?
If we're thinking of the same picture, then yes, it's not the first picture of them, because they had made a demo tape before that. But when I made the demo for Illiterate Hands, obviously Tom
on your Porter studio,
on my Porter studio, Tom heard it because he lived in a house with Andy, and apparently he was annoyed because his brother had a better sounding demo than him, which I was like, really? So he then asked if I would record them. So I did, and that was.
So they came to your house to record.
Yeah, in my bedroom, which is why there's posters of Marillion and Iron Maiden.
Well, that's my next question. So were you into Iron Maiden and Marillion?
Oh yeah. I mean, sorry.
That's a good combo.
Because basically the answer is, oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Well, Neil likes a bit of Iron Maiden, don't you, mate?
I do like a bit of Maiden, yeah.
I mean, it's probably, if everybody likes the stuff that they discovered first, if you like. So my interest in Iron Maiden kind of stops about 1986. Certainly my favorite albums are the first three, where they were kind of a little bit more raw sounding, and before the original drummer left there.
I was also partial to a bit of Marillion back in the day as well. So,
I mean,
I'm with you.
I still love Marillion. I mean,
what's the connection with Marillion? They pop up a lot on your biography. They keep coming. I couldn't work out the connection. What's the Marillion connection?
I mean, there isn't a particular Marillion connection, except for the fact that I like them. I did. I got to know the keyboardist completely out of the blue, which was exciting, because it was actually at an Unbelievable Truth gig in 1998 in Oxford.
Right.
And Mark Kelly's his name, and he just loves music. So he was at the gig, and he came up to me afterwards to introduce himself. And I think because it was like we were in the Enemy and the Melody Maker at the time, I imagine he thought that I wouldn't have any idea who he was. So he came up and he said, hello, I got as far as that. And I said, I know who you are. You're Mark Kelly from Marillion. You're one of my favorite bands.
So you played it cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's my middle name. But we became friends after that, and I actually recorded one of my solo records in Marillion's studio because they were on
cool,
tour. And I said to Mark, do you mind if while you're away I just do that? And it's like, no, it's fine. So, but yeah, just that's the only real connection. And
I don't know, that's a pretty deep root. That's great.
They're still good as well. I mean, that's I saw them like maybe kind of 4 or 5 years back. I haven't seen them for a bit at the Albert Hall, and I was struck because I think just before that, some friends of mine had been to see Simple Minds, and people had sent, my brother, I think, had sent me some videos from the gig, and it was "Don't You Forget About Me" and "Once Upon a Time" and all their kind of big songs. And then I went to see Marillion, a few weeks later, and it was all new stuff. They played the whole of the new double album that had just come out, and that's
brave, isn't it?
It's
brave.
But that's the thing about them. It isn't brave for them because Brave's an older album. There's pun. Never mind. But they are, I think, one of the few bands from that era who've just kept on going and making new stuff that has been kind of amazing, and their fans love.
Yeah, they all stick by them, right?
Yeah. So anyway,
that's great.
I'm supposed to be plugging Unbelievable Truth in my
sorry. Come on.
I'm getting excited about Marillion.
This is the important stuff.
I mean, I'll just tie this off with if anybody listening to this likes their British prog rock from the early 80s and Marillion, they go, wow. My actual favorite band from that period is IQ, and their first two albums.
I'm going to go and have a listen.
I've never heard of them at all. Okay.
They were smaller, but I love them to bits. And that's actually trying to bring it all round. That's, I went to see IQ like last year. I was sat in a burger bar around the corner just before I went in, and some of the band were there, and I texted Johnny to let him know, and he said, "Go up and say hello," because there's a particular song of theirs that he was texting me saying, "I'm really jealous that I can't be there because I think about Awake and Nervous, which is one of their songs, much more than I should," and it's something he enjoys as well.
That's great, and that ends our prog rock section. I mean, did it feel like an exciting? I know you were young, but did it feel like an exciting time to be in Oxford? There were, Ride going on and other bands and stuff.
I mean, Oxford has always punched way above its weight in terms of music. I think possibly everybody who's on the local scene thinks that, but there were. In every period, perhaps particularly then, there were so many great bands coming out, some of which made it, some of which didn't. And it was an incredibly inspiring place to be. And there was an incredible support network as well. People like Ronan, who still runs the local music magazine. And there was a promoter called Mac, who was like a local legend, really kind of aggressive and rude, but absolutely loved music and would really take risks, and that's kind of what everybody needed. And I think also that the important thing that then kind of flips local scenes sometimes is you can end up being quite insular. And I do remember it was quite, everybody's biggest ambition was to play the Jericho Tavern in Oxford. And then Ride comes out and actually, are playing all the way around the country and doing big gigs. And everybody goes, wow, maybe I can do that. Because that was just, that's Mark from the New Inn. I've seen him passed out on the floor there loads of times, and now he's playing Brixton Academy. So it just kind of suggests to you that it's not some other world. It's a possibility, which I think was important to Radiohead, and that was important to Supergrass, and then that was important to Foals, who were
Foals, of course,
Oxford. So it was, but again, I'm not wanting to get bogged down in talking about other bands, but another band that you won't have heard of, and it's absolutely criminal, from Oxford, is a band called the Candy Skins.
Know them well, but
It's on Luke's list. It's on
It's
Luke's
on my list. Yeah. I was going to mention them. Go on.
Forgive me for the assumption, because
No.
they are an incredible band, and they've written some of the greatest singles to come out of Oxford. And it's that they had really bad luck. There's a great documentary about the Oxford music scene which covers a lot of their career, and exactly every time they were kind of like, this is it, we're going, and something would go bang and they'd go back down again, and they just kept at it. And eventually, after 5 times of hitting the wall, they finally went, okay, take the hint.
Right.
What were you going to ask about the Candy Skins, Luke?
No, I was just going to say, kind of part of that scene, basically. Were you all going to the same pubs as, like the Candy Skins and everyone? Were you all drinking in the same places, watching the same gigs and stuff like that?
Yeah. There was kind of a lot of mutual support. I don't drink, so there was less kind of pub activity from me. But yeah, there were kind of on the Cowley Road. There were a few central hubs, like the New Inn, which I mentioned. There was one. There was an unbelievable truth to. Sorry, I'm going to rock anecdote mode.
Oh, love it.
That's all right. We like those.
There was an unbelievable truth European tour, and we needed a central place for everybody to meet and get on the tour bus. And what happens when it was a bus with bunks on, so we were getting on kind of in the evening, and then it would drive overnight, and then the first show was in Paris or wherever. So somebody suggested the New Inn, which perhaps was unwise, because our live guitarist Jim, bus call was, I think, 8 o'clock, and Jim arrived at about 2 in the afternoon. Started drinking, and oh my God, he was utterly sozzled by the time he got on the bus. And we didn't discover this until the next day, but what happened is he kind of staggered onto the bus, chose a bunk that was thankfully empty. As he was getting into it, he cracked his head really hard on like the bar as he was trying to get into it, and then kind of collapsed into his bunk. Woke up in the middle of the night and went, "What's going on here? This bunk's covered in blood." Got out and got into another one and went to sleep there, and then covered that bunk in blood as well.
Oh man!
we got him out in the morning with this huge cut on the. I think he managed to throw up in the bunk as well. So yeah. I actually had
rock and roll.
So I had give him a
it's
bit
always
standing off for the first game, and it was always Jim.
Right. That's good stuff. Well, you said like Ride kind of broke out and we're playing the Brixton Academy or something, but Radiohead really, really, really went stratospheric, right? I mean, how did everyone, not with you and everyone on the scene, how did everyone feel when that happened?
I mean, it's difficult for me to say, because I ended up being inside that situation instead of outside it, because aside from doing music and all that kind of stuff, I also had a very deep interest in lighting. That's definitely a Genesis thing, not wanting to get back into the prog rock, but
come on,
yeah.
Part of Genesis was like me getting a real passion for that kind of live presentation. Of lighting. So I think, I'd obviously Radiohead were friends. So I played in the band for a little while in 1990 when Phil was away in Ireland, and I was friends with them all. So I would help them out, and I'd done sound for them, recorded things for them. When they got signed, I started turning up at their gigs and just doing lights. I don't think anybody had even asked me, but I just got these. Yeah, exactly. And then when it started going well, they went, "Well, do you want to keep doing it?" And I was kind of, I was drum teching as well and helping with guitar technicianing. So I actually ended up being there. I thought it would be like a couple of months. A band I'd been in and worked really hard on. Up to that point, had just broken up and I had nothing to do. So while I was waiting for the next moment of inspiration to strike, I thought, I'll do this for a couple of months. And then it ended up being a year and a half, because everything went quite big.
And it was that year and a half when it all took off.
Yeah, basically that it was the Pablo Honey tour, basically beginning to end was what I did.
Wow.
And so I don't know what it was like on the home front, because we were out there touring. And it was kind of, I mean, lots of people have told this story, but it was kind of touch and go for them for a while, because Creep came out and went in at number 86, I remember. And
with a bullet.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's kind of like, oh. But we kept touring, and loads of support tours. We supported Frank and Walters. I said we, it was the band and the crew. They supported Frank and Walters. They supported Kingmaker. There was like a whole bunch of indie wannabes. And we just kept at it, and then it went huge in Israel for, we didn't even know it had been released there, and then Creep was a big hit out there, and then from there it became a hit in America, and then they finally re-released it in the UK. At which point it became a hit in the UK, but it was a long road.
That's interesting.
There was a period before it kind of started moving in other territories that talking to the management, they were like, well, Parlophone are uncertain about whether they're going to pick up the option for the next album. Which, looking back now, it's ridiculous. It's like the guy that turned down the Beatles, but
yeah, incredible. All right, let's finally get on to the unbelievable truth then.
About Radiohead.
Fuck those guys. I mean, how did the unbelievable truth come together and all of that?
So the band I've been in up until I started doing lights for Radiohead, the bass player was Jason. The guitarist actually ended up being Jim, who's the guy I just talked about, who destroyed 2 bus bunks.
Oh, Cuthead Jim.
He ended up being that's him. So we'd been in bands for a long time, and Illiterate Hands, the band that me and Andy and Johnny had at school, and they kind of just split up after school when everybody went their separate ways. And as part of his university course, Andy went out to spend a year in Russia, and we used to write to each other. Actual writing, because email didn't exist.
Like pen pals.
Pen pals.
Definitely. And one of those letters, he said, I've written some songs, and I think you and me should get some people together and play them when I come home. And
brilliant.
I would like that, he said, stated English way. And Jace is my other best friend in the world, and he's a wonderful bass player. There's something about the atmosphere that he brings to things. I was like, this is amazing, and I thought that will definitely fit what I know Andy is into. And so Andy came back, and the three of us started playing. We tried out a few different guitarists throughout the time, but it never quite worked out, even though back then I was really a beginner and Andy was even more of a beginner of a guitarist. As soon as we brought somebody else in, we tried with Jim, we tried a mate of Michael Ken, we tried this guy called John Burton, who now does front of house for the Prodigy, but it would make the guitar sound better, but the writing would just stop. As soon as you put another person in the room, for some reason, me and Andy and Jace, it just kind of stopped us doing what we were good at in a way. So in my stubborn way, I went, right, well, I'm just going to have to learn how to play guitar properly so that we can just be a 3-piece.
You could have always put some recorder in or something.
Thankfully, I didn't think of that at the time. Andy does play saxophone, but that has never come up in the unbelievable truth kind of lexicon either. So yeah, I mean, basically, the three of us got together, started writing. Initially, we had a notion of sounding like Throwing Muses,
right,
because Andy and I loved them at school. And I thought kind of having a male-based Throwing Muses kind of vibe. And there's a few very, very early demos that I loved. Dave Narciso's drumming. He was one of my inspirations. So there's a few early demos that follow that template. But it was interesting that we never defined our sound beyond that kind of first attempt, which didn't really work out. as soon as the three of us wrote together, it sounded like that. And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it sounds like that then. And that's what we're going to sound like. And,
this was like 94, 95, 90, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but this was like at the height of the kind of core blimey, cheeky chappy kind of Britpop kind of stuff, right? I mean, and you were completely different to that. Was that
completely out of step? Totally
conscious decision.
What a nightmare! No, like I say, there was nothing conscious about it. We wrote stuff, and it sounded like that, and it was like, well, you don't want to change that. There's no way to take Building and make it into Right by Supergrass. So,
sure.
But which I liked. I mean, it is some of my most pleasurable memories, like the song Solved, which comes from kind of
that's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites.
It's in a similar way to what I said about it in the new album. I remember it very clearly. Jace had come over to where I was at my dad's house at the time. So he came over and we'd just kind of been watching TV and strumming guitars. And he had to go to work the next day. So, he said, right, I'd better go. And got up, still holding the guitar. And as he was walking from the sofa to the door, he kind of played, he went, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it didn't even come back. I walked over to the door and we basically stood by the door. And in as much time as it takes to play it, we had the verse and chorus and outro of that.
Incredible.
Song. And then I did a demo of it the next day, sent it to Andy. He came back with the vocals. And it's like, okay, well, that's what that sounds like then.
Bob's your uncle. That's amazing. Yeah. But interestingly, by the time you did get around to like releasing stuff like 97, that kind of music had started to come through, right? So like Turing Break, Star Sailor, and you kind of got the timing right in the end. Do you think?
Slightly. We were very slightly early. I think it was.
I think so.
Like possibly that we. I think we were an inspiration for I know what's his face, Chris Martin. That's the guy, one of the most famous.
That's the guy.
Yeah. In the world.
Heard of him.
And I know Chris Martin and a couple of the other Coldplay guys really liked Unbelievable Truth, and that was kind of like they wanted to head in that direction. But I suppose like Urban Hymns by the Verve had a bit of that kind of sweet acoustic sound as well, and Travis coming through with that kind of slightly folk rocky type thing. Their second album, because their first album was a bit more So maybe it was the right kind of time, but again, that wasn't planned, because if Andy hadn't freaked out and left the band in 1995, then we probably would have released an album.
Right, you would have been 2 years earlier. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. But once you did start releasing stuff, you got quite a lot of hype straight away from especially the music papers, NME, Melody Maker. Did you enjoy that?
Enjoy would be a strange word to use. I mean, it was very different experiences between the three of us in a way, because I'd been absolutely dead set on being a musician and doing it to the best of my ability and professionally since I was 14, basically. For some reason, even though I hadn't been interested in it before, as soon as I became introverted, I kind of fixated on music and being a musician as a defining, when you're a teenager and you try and go, this is me, I'm a horse rider or I'm a thief or whatever.
Sure. Good examples.
I don't know. An interesting insight to my psyche there that was the two career paths.
What else is there?
But so for me, it was like this is what we have to do, and let's work hard and make a thing of it. It was it's harder. It was definitely harder for Andy because he's. This is me being introverted. Andy is like 8 times more introverted than I am. So having that kind of attention was difficult for him, and being compared to his brother.
Yeah, I mean, was that a blessing or a curse? The kind of Tom York's brothers band tag?
Absolutely a curse, 100%. It was because on the. I mean, okay, I'll be realistic. Perhaps there were some people who go, "Oh, I'll have a listen because of that fact." But I think far more there were people who wouldn't judge us on the strength or otherwise of our music. They would go, "Oh, it doesn't really sound very much like OK Computer, does it?" Which it didn't, because we were different people doing a different.
Why would it? Yeah.
And so there was like that, those two negative sides of it, that as a band we were constantly compared to somebody who we weren't trying to do the same thing as or trying to compete with, and it was extremely demoralizing, kind of personally depressing a bit for Andy, that that would be the first question that most people would ask.
I mean, did it open doors that wouldn't have otherwise been opened, do you think?
I can't say. I don't. Well, maybe in terms of again, like that, just like cracking the door open first with record companies and stuff when we were sending out demos. But I don't recall us ever actually saying, we just said it was Andy, Jason, and Nigel with the members. I think we were already by that point downplaying it. So the fact is, I don't know. It seems like it might have done, but sorry, becoming reflective, because it was difficult, and it put Andy off the whole thing, and it made life harder rather than easier at pretty much every turn.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think a lot of people listening to this would think that it would make it easier, but you get what you're saying. It's that'd be different.
Yeah, I mean,
did you get like backlash from like other bands and stuff saying, "Oh, they're only in the NME because of this reason," and that kind of thing?
I think we got backlash from journalists more than other bands.
Right.
I don't think other bands particularly had much of an opinion about us either way, except Top Loader slagged us off on the single pages of
what did they say? We love making fun of Top Loader on the podcast. It's one of our
give us some.
For piss taking.
Give us some,
what did they say about you?
What have they got to say about anyone?
I know, right? But I've put it from my mind. But they were very rude about one of our singles, and we actually ended up. We I think so too. We ended up playing a gig with them not long after that happened.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
It was like a student ball, and we played our show, and it was really good. And then they came on, and about 2 songs into their set, that was.
How many times did they play that one song? Where got
a cover.
They didn't have a chance. Their set got cut off.
Oh, that's a shame.
3 songs. But that's funny though. I kind of would have liked to see how much they milked it. A friend of mine did sound for the Cutting Crew. Do you remember the Cutting Crew?
Died in Your Arms Tonight. We love that.
One of my favourite songs.
And he said they did. They did it 4 times in the night. They would open the set with it and close the set with it. They would do an acoustic version in the middle, and then they'd finish the encores with it as well.
It is good though, isn't it? It's almost worth 4 times, isn't it? That is such a good song.
You wouldn't want to hear "Danced in the Moonlight" 4 times. More than
no.
I think they call that purgatory. When you die, and you've done bad things, you end up in a room with that.
I think that's just amazing that they've had the gall to slag anyone off. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think they were at a high point at that time. I mean, this might, I might be trying to slaughter a sacred cow with you guys, but I think I would I would probably prefer to listen to Top Loader playing Dancing in the Moonlight rather than Embrace playing Hooligan, which
Oh,
No, but Hooligan's the one with the kazoo, right?
with the
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one. Yeah, I did say that I'm not a fan of the kazoo one.
It's weird because Fireworks by
it's my favorite Embrace track. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great song, and then
no, I agree. I
remember them playing Hooligan on the TV from Glastonbury, and I was like, "What is this bullshit?"
Yeah. No, I agree. He probably did the same thing as you. He probably thought, well, I can play the kazoo, so maybe I'll
fuck it.
To be fair, the kazoo playing was about 6,000% better than my recorder playing. So,
yeah, but no, that's fair enough.
Speaking of live performances, there's footage of you on Jules Holland on YouTube. Really great. You sound great on it. I mean, do you remember playing Jules Holland? And how was it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's a very friendly environment. It is quite intense because it's all done as live. There was, during the first take of one of our songs, a cameraman crashed into another cameraman. And they both fell to the floor. So they did retake one of our songs.
Oh wow!
But yeah, it was fun. I mean,
who else was on that day?
See, the only other person I can remember. Boy George did an acoustic song at the piano with Jules Holland, which was very cool. There was an American artist called Imani Coppola, who had a big single called, and I'm not making this up, I Am a Tree. And she was good. I can't remember who else was on. I get it confused because I went to see Radiohead do it as well.
The recording, right?
When they did Jules, and Elvis Costello was on at that one. I think that was the reason why I snuck in to see it. So I keep thinking that Elvis Costello played when Unbelievable Truth did it, but I think I'm confusing my memories there. But no, it was fun, and I think one of the things about that is I've got a much bigger drum kit than most indie bands. It's like huge. It's a huge kind of Phil Collinsy type thing. I mean, and I always kind of enjoyed that. That was one of my musical things. Is that like if I put myself behind a kit, a typical indie one tone, one full tone kit, I'm just going to play typical indie things. So to inspire something else out of me, I'm going to and there was part of me that wanted to know what it would have sounded like if Phil Collins had played for Neil Young.
Yeah,
sure.
We know.
We talk quite a lot on the podcast about kind of major label versus indie label, and you had your time on Virgin was very short. Can you tell us about it? Was it good or bad?
It was good and then bad.
Okay,
familiar story.
Yeah, I mean, it's in fact, it started off blissful. That we were actually signed by two people in the end because somebody called Joanne McCormack brought us in to the company. I can't remember even where she heard about us. But then we came in to do a meeting with her, and she was ill, and we met with her boss, whose name has escaped me for a second. And they both loved us, so they kind of signed us together, which was good because your A&R person becomes your center of communication. So you talk to them, and they kind of talk to the rest of the company, and they hype up the rest of the company and go, "These guys are great. We need to make it good." So, and it couldn't have been better for that first album, which I think is reflected in the kind of feel of it and how it went.
Yeah.
Because it was not what I was expecting, because once we got signed, it was like, okay, let's make an album. Who's going to produce it? And we interviewed a whole bunch of producers. And and nobody seemed right. Nobody was kind of talking about it in the way that seemed to represent what it was.
Yeah.
And then at the end of one of those meetings, this guy left, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, it's not quite right." And he said, "Look, the demos are great. Why don't you produce it, Nigel? Because you did all the demos." And I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
Basically, I didn't make that face because I was a little bit better at the poker face stuff. I mean, that's going to be a great idea.
Piece of
But
piss.
inside, I was going. And then we went away and recorded it. And after a couple of weeks, he came in, and it was like I was already thinking. I know how to just make the music sound beautiful, but I don't know what makes a single particularly.
Yeah.
So I was worried when he came in that he was going to go, we need more singles. And he came in and listened to everything all the way through. Said, "Sounds amazing." It was like going to leave, and I was like, "Do you need a single?" He said, "No, it sounds amazing. We'll just finish it and we'll pick a single later." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't make that face again, obviously.
No. Yeah.
And then both of them got. There was kind of typical power struggle stuff within Virgin. And, we weren't as successful as Gomez, who were on another Virgin label.
Gomez, right? Yes,
great band, lovely chaps as well.
Yeah,
deeply stoned the entire time. We met them, but nothing wrong with that.
No.
So both of the people that Paul Kinder, God damn it, that was his name. Sorry. So Paul and Joanne both got fired from their jobs. And the new guy who came in just didn't like us at all. And it was this was while we were in the process of making the second album, which for me is why the second album just sounds incredibly paranoid and claustrophobic, because it was, just the vibe. He was, it's like it was a totally toxic relationship. He didn't want us to be part of the label anymore, but we were already making an album, and we had already kind of were in the process, so we kind of had to live with it. And
that's not the best conditions to make an album in, right?
No, not at all. And we I didn't want to produce the second one either, but we couldn't. That Virgin weren't sufficiently behind us to get a kind of another producer on board.
Right.
Actually, one person who I did talk to, who we I thought I'd really like to work with him, was Steve Albini.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had a long telephone conversation with him. I was terrified because this was back when Big Black were kind of that kind of period, and he had a reputation.
Yes, well, I think he actually was a bit of a wanker back then, right? He came good, but yeah.
So I had a long phone call with him, and as it turned out, he was lovely on the phone. But we talked about it afterwards, and I kind of between the three of us, I said, I think I'd be a bit too scared of him for us to actually kind of make an album. It would be, is this all right? Please don't attack me. So we didn't use him in the end.
I think that would have been a good fit. I do. That would have been a more stripped down sound, right? That would have been a good fit, maybe.
Yeah. It's because I love the second PJ Harvey album that he.
Yeah, I think he's already doing like low records by then as well. Had that really kind of stripped down sound.
There was another band who didn't do much, but it was produced by him, and that was like, wow, this is really kind of spacey. But would have been interesting, but we didn't go for that because we were too scared of him.
Fair enough.
So I ended up producing it again, but when we finished recording it, trying to get somebody to mix it, because Virgin were going, I don't care. So we finished recording. It was, I think, 6-7 months before we actually managed to tie somebody down to mix it. That
oh wow,
Virgin were going to be willing to pay, and then we finished mixing it, and they went, we don't want to release this. To their credit, they gave it back to us, and we put it out on an Oxford indie label who had just formed.
Right. Yeah. Wow, what a story.
Brutal.
Yeah, a bit. It's kind of, that was a depressing time in a way, and it was. It wasn't long after that Andy went, I don't want to make another album. I'm going to be a band again.
Yeah.
So that was like middle of 2000.
Did you want to continue it at the time?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Because creatively, there was, I think all three of us, because of the vibe of that period, I think all three of us used to look back on the whole thing, the album included, and kind of write it off. But recently coming back to it and re-releasing the compilation album that we did kind of after we broke up, we were very prolific because we had, Sorry Thank You was longer than we wanted it to be anyway. It was 13 songs, but we kind of knew that we knew by that point that we were going to break up. So we wanted to get all of the good songs on it. But there were another 18 on Miss Music. And like, for me, at least half of those could have been on the record as well. So at the time we were down on it, but looking back on it, it was like, there's a lot of good material here. Good heavens. Well done.
Yeah.
So creatively, it was still working. It was just,
right. Yeah.
And I think we possibly could have. It would have been a lot of work, but we could have done that a thing where you drop down a couple of levels, but then kind of slowly build yourself up from that base. Because we had a very passionate core fan base who loved us. So.
Yeah. So what did you do next?
Before we even broke up, I'd joined an Oxford band called Dustball, who then turned into Dive, and we worked incredibly hard and made some albums that I'm really proud of. And then in 2005, when we were out touring with Dustball, we were supporting a band called Reuben, who again, do you know Reuben?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I remember the name.
They're magnificent. I think. Sorry, I'm making your podcast really long by repeatedly spinning off into bands that I really.
That's what we like, man.
But Reuben, I think have made one of the great kind of lost British rock albums. Very fast, very dangerous is an absolute gem. It's one of those every song a winner, and it's the whole thing's fantastic, and every song individually is fantastic as well.
That whole scene was interesting, wasn't it? That kind of early 2000s UK kind of post-hardcore scene, right? It was
100
interesting.
Reasons
100 Reasons, Million Dead.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, yeah.
So nice segue.
Yes, Million Dead. Go on.
We were out touring with Reuben, and the singer of Million Dead was selling T-shirts for them because he just never wanted to go home. And we got talking to him, and the way he tells it, there was a gig where I think it was the first show of the tour, and he was setting up T-shirts, and we were sound checking, and the sound guy said, went through the drums and then went, all right, whole drum kit, and I played Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, and he went,
classic.
Bloody hell, that sounds good, and then heard the rest of the band and got talking to us and said he was Million Dead, secret, but Million Dead were about to break up, and he was going to start a solo thing, and would we be interested in playing? So we said yeah, and we used our recording setup to record his first album and toured with him for free, and then that kind of ballooned, and I ended up playing with him for nearly 15 years.
Wow, that long. Okay.
Yeah, and thousands of gigs as well. Incredibly busy, Dive did a bit, but eventually futted out because the three of us were away touring with Frank.
Frank Turner for the listeners. I don't think we've said the actual name. Frank Turner for people listening. Yes.
So that kind of, I ended up putting everything else on hold. Basically, I did release a handful of solo records in that period, but there was no time. We were just
Yeah.
making albums and doing gigs and making albums and doing gigs. And
It's great.
Yeah.
it was non-stop. So I committed to that basically completely for a good decade.
You
Not a bad
played
gig.
played the opening ceremony for the 2012 Olympics. Is that correct?
We did, and it's funny because there's quite a few times when being in a peer group with Radiohead, you feel like everything you do is falls a little bit short.
Sure.
But in terms of total audience, I've
That's
still
pretty
played
big,
the
isn't it?
biggest gig of any of us because
Sure.
we were about to go on, and I think it's funny. I think the stage manager was trying to be helpful because we were just walking on. He said, "It's all right. It hasn't. This bit isn't going out to the global audience, so there's only about 25 million people watching at the moment." Well, all right then. So,
If that's the case, I'll get my recorder out.
so yeah, we played a couple of songs on a fake hill in London, in the Olympic Stadium in London.
Amazing.
So,
Are you on that hill? Were you?
yeah,
You're on the hill, weren't you? Yeah, that's
right.
right. Remember that?
It was crazy, and because it was a hill. So at gigs, quite often for convenience, you'll set the drums up on a riser that has wheels on, and they just kind of push it out.
Yeah.
Pushing another one off. It was a hill, so that wasn't possible. They still needed to get things on and off really fast. So I set myself up. It was like kind of Egyptian slaves. I set my drums up on a riser, and then 8 swarthy men picked it up and carried it onto this hill and put it down again. And I played, and then they came out and took it off again. So,
Brilliant.
yeah,
That is great.
It
What
was an
experience.
experience. I'm glad I did it. It was crazy as well because being Frank Turner, it's not like we stopped to do the Olympic ceremony. There was like 2 warm-ups. There was Monday and Wednesday were like the kind of secret rehearsals, and then Friday was the main thing. And we had I think we played in Germany on the Tuesday, and we had been in Austria over the weekend before, so we were just it was non-stop for us. I had to have 2 drum kits going because I needed to keep one at the Olympics. So we had the drum kit that I was doing these festivals with, and then we were popping in, doing the Olympic rehearsal, popping out, doing another gig, and then back to the real.
Just got to go and do the Olympics thing. And
yeah.
It.
Amazing. All right. We talked about it earlier, but I think most people thought that The Unbelievable Truth would kind of never get back together, but you did, and you are. I mean,
back.
It's amazing, right? Back.
Yeah.
How were they? Played a couple of gigs last year. Against good footage online. I mean, how were they?
Yeah. I mean, amazing. Again, just fun being back with Andy and Jason, then kind of with Jim in the live band as well. And a keyboardist called Richard played with us. It's the first time doing gigs properly with a 5-piece, and it made a big difference. But we loved it. The only kind of downside, which wasn't really a downside, was as soon as we started rehearsing, we started writing, and we were more interested in doing new stuff. But we had to do these.
Right.
We had to do these almost here 25th anniversary shows, so we had to keep kind of going back and reminding ourselves how the old songs went. But we just, I think all of us really loved it. But by the time we'd even played those shows, we're making another album because
that's amazing.
Stuff was just tumbling out.
Great. And you're
Right.
gearing up for Shine On as well. That's a bit of a bigger gig.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting because looking at the lineup, it's 90s, but it's all, in comparison to us, it's all quite rocking.
Right.
I think they put us on at quite a smart moment. We're on like 6:30 on Sunday afternoon, so they're not putting us between Jesus Jones and who else? EMF or something.
Sure.
Which would be,
you're not going on before Bentley Rhythmace. Like last year, they were mental. Bentley Rhythmace were like insane.
Great band. But do you remember? Sorry, going off into rock anecdote a moment again. Do you remember the band 6x7?
Oh, I'm a massive fan of 6x7. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to see them a few times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Good band. But my biggest interaction was with 6x7 was at a French festival. And we had actually got bumped up the bill because Portishead were headlining and they wanted a band who weren't too immediately before them. So they asked if we could kind of move up a slot. So we played that gig. It was our favorite gig ever from that period. We loved it. As I was coming off this huge, I don't know if you remember the singer. Well, obviously you do because you went to see
Chris Ellie,
singer 6x7 guy, huge
guy. Yeah.
So as I'm walking off the stage, I'm quite small, I'm petite, I prefer to call it. This guy towering over me comes up, clearly absolutely hammered, looking through extremely bloodshot eyes. And he says, "All right." I said, "Hello," in my very English way. "Hello." He said, he gave no context for this and no reason, but all he said to me was, "I was going to beat the fuck out of you, but actually that was really good, so I'm not."
Can't say fairer than that.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Imagine if you
gave you a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never have I been happier that we played a good gig.
I like the fact he came and he felt the need to come and tell you that as well.
Yeah. Excellent. So, anyway, was I talking about something?
Are you going to be debuting any new songs at Shine On? Are you going to be previewing?
Maybe that we haven't. We've got limited rehearsal time, so but there is one that I think we're going to take out. But I think mostly because it's a 90s festival. It's mostly
give the crowd what they want.
Almost, yeah. I've always had that thing watching bands at festivals. I'm thinking about bigger festivals at Reading and Leeds when they're playing mostly new songs, and you go, "This is a festival, mate. Yeah. Come on, play the stuff that everybody's going to sing along to."
Yeah.
So
you're gonna have to give people what they want.
Yeah,
but you can slip some new ones in there.
Yeah, if there's going to be, it'll be one new one if we do it, and a couple from Sorry Thank You. We just released a video for one of the songs from Miss Music, so we're going to play that as well. And we actually rehearsed yesterday and played that for the first time ever with a band, and it sounded
are you staying for the whole weekend, or
no? We've got a gig the night before to warm up,
right?
Exeter. So we and then it's Sunday, and then everybody's got work on Monday, so
there you go.
Home. Sexy and rock and roll, I know.
All right. We've got one final question to ask you that we always ask all band members. Neil, do you want to ask it?
Other than Top Loader, if you could have been in any other band in the 90s, who would it have been and why?
That is a question that I've been asked before, and I've always found it a difficult one, because if there's a band that I really like, I don't want to be in that band, because I want the,
right.
It's like, I love REM, and I definitely would not want to replace Bill Berry.
Right.
Yeah. It might be because I'm tuned into that kind of thing, because I am, I'm really a drummer, but I think drummers really do kind of hold the vibe of a band.
No, I agree.
When you change the drummer, things change, because REM, after Bill Berry left, the songs were still good, but there was just something about it that it didn't draw me in the same way. So for that reason, I guess so what I'm looking for is a band who I thought could have been good, but were let down by their drummer.
Right.
And then
okay.
Come on, say something like that.
Top Loader?
No, they were let down by plenty.
They all let themselves down.
Let down by his haircut.
Do you think any of Top Loader listen to your podcast? I certainly hope not.
I think we've blown our chances
many episodes ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be in any other band. I love bands.
That's all right.
When they have their own chemistry. I mean, to bring the whole thing to a conclusion, I did get to play with Marillion once.
Here we go. Here's your answer.
Not actually in front of people, but their drummer was having surgery and they had a couple of gigs coming up, so they needed a replacement. And they tried out a few people, and I got to play some songs with them, and that was a great pleasure. You know,
I bet it was. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
So yeah, I've already done it. Sorry, Neil, you're late.
You're late. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Are you active on social media and stuff? Is there anywhere people can go to keep up with the news when the album's coming out, stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Untruth_band is us on Threads and Twitter, and what's the one with the pictures? Instagram. And I think Facebook's the same as well. We are all over that stuff. All over that stuff. We even, on the advice of somebody, we've even started a TikTok now.
We've got TikTok too.
Have we?
This is a surprise to me. Have we? Why wasn't I informed?
Oh yeah, we're down with the
kids. Doing all of that.
We're TikToking all the time.
But yeah, you can find it. It's usually me on there because Andy's shy and Jace is lovely but almost mute. That's why you're talking to me. This is another thing from the history of the band is
I mean, I do the social media too. Luke obviously he didn't even know we had a TikTok account, and Dave doesn't go on any social media.
I'm the music guy. Come on.
Yeah, he's the music guy.
Division of labor.
Works.
That's
that's
why I do all the talking in this band as well, and it was from time to time with when we were touring the States and people were coming in and that with the best will in the world they could never disguise the air of slight disappointment that they were getting to talk to the drummer.
Right.
Well, we've had a pleasure talking.
We have. It was an honor. It was an honor, and we appreciate you taking so much time as well. So we're going to stop the recording, but don't jump away just yet.
Thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really lovely talking to you both.
Pleasure's been ours.
No, it's great.
Much. So there we go. Nigel from The Unbelievable Truth. Dave, did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, I did. Very smooth sounding voice. It's all right. It's weird. I always listen first.
A smooth sounding voice.
Yeah. I always listen first, and then
not as smooth as Colin Firth, but it'll do.
But I'm always surprised when I see them after hearing them because I didn't remember.
Hey, don't dig yourself a hole. What are you going to say about him first before you start being rude?
Well, I'm always surprised that the face doesn't match the voice.
How did you imagine he looked like based on the voice?
I imagine him to have more hair.
You hairist.
No, but he was a good looking bald guy like Pep Guardiola type thing going on.
Sure.
There.
I know you dig yourself a hole.
He was a good laugh, wasn't he? He was a lot of fun, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was a fun
interview.
You
two funny.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Really, really good.
Unbelievable.
At stories. And just not enough songs with recorder in it, is there?
I think there are.
Probably too many.
Is there?
Name some.
Name some, like, that aren't sort of childhood sort of.
Grandma, We Love You.
What are they called? What are those child songs called? What are the songs you listen to?
Non-tracks.
What are they called?
Hymns.
I said nursery rhymes.
Nursery rhymes.
Right.
I just said it.
Apart from nursery rhymes, there isn't much recorder, is there?
It's not a good instrument, though, is it? It doesn't have a good sound.
I guess that's what it is.
But it's a good one to learn because it's quite difficult, but not too difficult.
I wonder, do kids still learn recorder at school?
Yeah.
I guess they're cheap, aren't they?
Then you move on to the clarinet, which does sound very nice.
Is that what your daughter plays?
Yeah, she plays that.
I don't know why I've got this. I've been to Abingdon, where they all went to school. Nigel ran a marathon there, 1983.
Your dad, Nigel.
Just to clarify,
my dad, Nigel.
Your dad.
Yeah, so
I bet he's still got the T-shirt.
He's still got all the medals somewhere. I don't know. He ran away.
Those 70s running T-shirts he used to have in the 90s, they were brilliant.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
I just have he's such a 70s guy, isn't he?
He
I always have a 70s picture of him in
He
my
used to
mind.
have like a handlebar moustache when he was younger. Yeah.
Listeners, just as we said before, just picture Chuck Norris in your head, and that's all you need.
Never
Chuck
mind.
Norris in 1982, and that's Neil's dad forever.
The whole story about Radiohead recording in his bedroom, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's amazing.
I thought that's really cool, and then I went and looked at the photo. They're not quite as
Yeah.
cool. Not really, are they?
No, they look like real 80s nerds, don't they?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant picture.
Although he said it wasn't the first picture, didn't he? He said there's a picture on their first demo tape. I think he didn't say it directly. That's what he implied in the interview, that there is another picture of them which was used on their first demo tape. But I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
It goes back to what we were talking to before, that like all these bands who end up being these mega stars, they're all just like normal people underneath it all, aren't they? Just geeky school kids recording in a bedroom.
There's hope for you still, man.
Yeah. I like that Marillion got a bit of a mention. I think that's the first time we've spoken about him on the podcast. I like a bit of Marillion. I don't mind them at all.
I need another song that's not Kaylee to put on the playlist. What's another Marillion song? There aren't any. No.
Put that on it.
I don't want to. I want another Marillion song. I mean, of course, I love it, but you need something different.
And then he mentioned the band IQ, so I went and had a look. Yeah, very prog rock. Why
didn't you listen?
I did. I had a quick listen to put it on the playlist. Yeah.
Did you see his hair?
No.
It's good hair.
Is it good? Good hair.
Yeah, back in the 80s. Not now. It's good. They look quite normal now, but back in the 80s, it's a good look.
Yeah. 80s metal.
I just like those huge banks of keyboards and stuff. It's all mental, isn't it? I wonder if they could have just used one keyboard, or that it was just part of the look.
Probably could, right?
I reckon.
Yeah. And you probably didn't need the cape.
I think the cape's essential. He made a good point about, he was talking about the Oxford music scene and how it always punched above his weight. And he said that he thinks that whichever music scene you're in whichever town, you always think that that's the best music, or it's punching above it. But I can confirm, when I was involved in the Bournemouth music scene,
heavily involved.
No one gave a shit.
You didn't even punch.
Didn't punch. didn't even sort of, I don't know, slap or anything. We just might well have not existed down there. So it's not every town.
But when you came up to London, the crowds were spilling out of the doorway.
Yeah, I mean, once we broke out of the Bournemouth scene and into the London scene.
Well, I think the music was all right, but what's the opposite from ahead of its time?
Behind the time.
Behind the Bournemouth music, that's the problem.
Right. It's like 5 years too late.
Yeah, we were playing like Britpop sort of music in the early 2000s. But not all bands were. Like there was some pretty innovative bands in Bournemouth, but no one gave a shit. So I'm just saying that not every music scene is, punching some to start. And I wonder why that is. Geography, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Oxford
must be a centre for middle-class families, right?
Yeah, and
who've had the money to put their kids into music lessons and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
they've probably got friends that are music journalists, and it's easy to go to, isn't it, from London for music journalists and stuff, right?
Yes, I think all that plays a part. But what he also said about the music scene there, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said there's a guy that was running all the nights back then, and he's still doing it now. That is similar to the Bournemouth one. This guy called Conrad, who used to put gigs on every Monday night. He's still doing it. This 20 years later, still doing the same. Every Monday night, religiously puts on local bands in this pub in Bournemouth.
You should get some sort of honour.
Yeah, those people are amazing, man.
People. He's a legend around those parts. Everyone knows who he is. He is the Bournemouth music scene. He just does it because he likes doing it.
Speaking of Britpop, it's interesting when he was talking about being out of step with Britpop, right?
Yeah.
Gives them a bit more credibility now, perhaps. When you listen to it, it sounds better than a lot of stuff from that time and more modern, I think.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
think it's
saying
aged very
because,
well.
right, it's more timeless.
I reckon. That's my opinion.
But then Radiohead weren't really Britpop either, were they?
No.
They didn't fit in that mould either.
It was interesting. He was talking about when he was basically on part of the crew for Radiohead for the Pablo Honey tour when it was all kicking off and he was doing drum tech stuff.
Which brings me on to my next point. I did some lighting myself, didn't I, back in the day?
Well, for Radiohead?
No, I did it for the school play.
Oh,
I did it for Wizard of Oz and Grease. Did it 2 years running. So
so it's pretty similar. Yeah.
I remember seeing the Wizard of Oz and thinking how great the lighting was.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what everyone said.
Yeah.
You know. So similar sort of trajectories there.
Yeah.
I bet that was good though, doing that tour. It must have been exciting when it's all taken off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember Joe Bellingham went to see Kingmaker with Radiohead supporting.
Yeah, that was at Brighton University, I think.
And at the time, it didn't seem that weird because Radiohead hadn't exploded and they were just like another little indie band. But now it seems a bit bizarre. But
that's how it goes. Yeah,
he touched on how they exploded, didn't he? And it
Israel.
seemed to be Israel,
Israel, America, UK. Yeah.
Remember the Backstreet Boys? They only got really big because of the UK. Like they didn't in America. Then people didn't really give a shit until they got big over here, and then
there's a lot of bands like that on there.
People took notice over there.
Yeah,
Faith No More as well.
Kings of Leon,
similar, wasn't it?
And you got ones that go the other way. Bush, of course.
Yes, Bush.
Flock of Seagulls.
Yeah. He made an interesting point about dynamics in a band when they were putting the Unbelievable Truth together. They did have like another guitarist who was really good. And he said the guitar was much better, but the songs just got worse.
Yeah, it was that whole collaboration thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, a good musician doesn't necessarily mean the band's going to be better. It's the dynamics between everyone. And that's what I think happened with Oasis, you know. The new Oasis post gigs in Bonehead leaving, I don't think they had the same vibe going on.
So Bonehead, he may have only been a bonehead, but he was a kind of muse or catalyst.
He was the glue. He's a bonehead.
It's a bit like me in this podcast, isn't it? I don't really do much, but, you know, I bring the best out of both of you.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
It was quite funny, your top loader bants.
Yes. Oh, that was great. That was great. The gall of it.
It's funny, when I listened to it the same day or the day after I was watching Motherland. Have you ever watched that comedy show? It's really good. And the guy from Top Loader was on it. It's about these parents and their kids go to a school. And he was playing like this teacher who used to be in Top Loader, but was getting really into doing a gig at the school fair.
But it was actually him, was it? The guy?
It was him.
That's good that he's making fun of himself. That's cool.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. But yeah, the goal of Top Loaders to slag off anyone back in the day. They must really have been high.
I bet they regret that now.
High on that drug of Onka's Big Mocha.
Sure. But I like the fact that he was willing to go along with the banter and take the piss out of him. That was good. That's good.
And I like the fact he brought up that Embrace song, which I also don't really like. The hooligan with a kazoo thing.
Sure.
Yeah. But they were good at Shine On, apparently. Embrace. So I'm going to see them this month or next month in Brighton.
Oh, brilliant.
Press pass, innit? Motherfuckers.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool. Man, we're press. That's amazing.
You always wanted to be a journalist, didn't you, at school?
I did.
Now you are.
I did. I wanted to be a music journalist back in the day.
No, I wanted to be a music journalist.
Well, you both
I think everyone
now.
did. It was, height of enemy and melody maker, but I'd have been. I'd have been. You'd have been good, Luke. But
I did write for the school magazine. I did reviews for the school university magazine.
We edited a magazine.
We did. The Crow.
The Crow. You know, that was all of us. That was I forgot. We were a team there too.
We were.
Tales of Crowford High, isn't it? Tales from Crowford High.
Yeah, and those tales, that's what that show Sex Education was based on.
Oh, on your tails.
Yeah, it's basically the
You have to
same.
explain to the readers what you're talking about. Read it to the listeners what you're talking about.
Well, I don't. If anyone's seen Sex Education, just imagine some short stories on the back of a school magazine and extrapolate from that. That's what they were based on.
Dave wrote some
Same
short
characters.
stories on the back of a magazine, which
did.
we created because we didn't want to do sports, basically, at school. And yeah, they were good stories, man. There was one about going into hell, wasn't there? I remember.
I'm not sure many people in the common room got it, but we did. We appreciated the humour.
And we did stories about like the teachers and stuff, didn't we? Cheeky little stories we reported on.
We had an agony aunt column, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
That sounds
It was good. It was good. Much like this, just all nonsense, really.
The stories were true though. I remember one, it was Mrs. Harris and then another teacher, and they'd obviously come up in their cars. No, they come up in their cars from lower school to upper school. And I heard one of them say like, "Oh, I beat you." So we did this like tabloid sensational story about it. Do you remember?
Yeah,
We'd have wrote it in like real like Daily Star style about how they had this race. All right, sorry, let's get back to the interview. I really liked it when he said that they nearly worked with Steve Albini, but they were too scared.
Yeah, just to bring it back to All About Me again.
Yeah,
I was looking up Steve Albini, and I have something in common with him, which is playing poker.
Right, yeah, you did all right with the old poker, didn't you?
Yeah, he won 2 bracelets at the World Series of Poker, I read.
Bracelets?
Yeah, that's what you win if you win one of the events.
That's a bit weird.
I didn't make it up.
What do you mean? But you said it as if it was normal. Is it a real bracelet?
Yeah.
Fucking weird, isn't it?
I also played in the World Series of Poker, but I didn't win anything at all.
They put a bracelet around your balls.
How far did you get?
I think.
Did Colin Firth put a bracelet around your balls, Dave?
No. I came 2000th.
Out of how many?
6,000.
Out of 2,000 out of 6,000. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
respectable,
bad.
but yeah.
How high do you have to finish to get a bracelet?
Oh, first.
Oh, right. You don't get like a necklace or anything. How about you get like a necklace for second, pair of earrings for third?
I don't know. Maybe. Here, was he dead?
Who?
Albini.
Well, we had a big whole show about it. We did in utero after he died.
Dave, you were there.
That's right. Yeah, I thought he was.
And the whole Tom York's brother thing. Yeah, that must be difficult if your brother's in one of the biggest bands in the world.
I just want to be a fly on the wall at Christmas time.
I'm obsessed with it. Do you want to ask? Shall I ask? See if we can get you an invite
to their Christmas dinner.
Yeah. So I just say, look, I know it's a bit weird, but Nigel, can you see if Dave can go around the Yorks for Christmas dinner?
Just as an observer.
Hang out.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be up for it, you know. You fucking weirdo. Don't wear your bracelets, though.
No, especially not in the place you usually wear it. I was a bit surprised about the 6x7 story. I mean,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of 6x7. I mean, Chris Ollie seems to be about. He's an intense guy, but yeah,
sounds like it. Yeah,
it's a surprise.
Threatened
to beat the fuck out of him. Yeah.
Drink's evil. That's what it does to people. It turns you into a monster.
He's written lots of. He's written some really interesting kind of stuff on like suicide ideation and stuff like that. Chris Ollie has. It's he suffered with depression and stuff a lot over the years. It's it's hard, right? It's hard.
Yeah, but there's no excuse for threatening to beat someone up. Really.
Yeah, but he didn't do it. So
because they were good. He gave them the chance. They played all right. I mean, it was all right after that. They had a good gig.
Yeah, no, it's not on really, is it?
Imagine. I wonder at what point in the set he was like, "Actually, no, I'm going to let this go."
Yeah.
This time. And why specifically Nigel?
Sure. He's offended by the drumming.
He doesn't look like someone you'd want to beat up, does he? I'll tell you who does.
Who?
Have you heard of Tim Stanley?
No.
No.
I guess I can't say much. He's such an arsehole. He's some journalist for the Telegraph, and he does Thought for the Day every now and again on Radio 4. And he was on Question Time the other night.
Oh yeah, it looks like a cunt. He does
just
I'm
just not a violent person, but I quite like to punch him.
Dave, have you made the switch to Blue Sky yet?
No, but I have left Twitter.
We have the podcast, Dave.
Have you? Oh, good. Well done.
Yeah,
I've deactivated my Twitter account.
Yeah, see, I haven't done that. Should I do that for the podcast?
Sure.
we
Yeah, fuck
should,
it, mate. Let's drive that thing to the ground.
Fuck Elon Musk.
Should we do it now?
Give him any money.
We'll issue not that we got it's not like we got 1 million followers or anything, but the ones that we have got, we're telling you now, after today, we're off Twitter.
Wait until this comes out. Give him a chance to follow us over on Blue.
We'll wait till we got a bit more traction and we use Twitter for a little bit, and then that'll be it.
I'm completely off it, man. Completely off it.
I'm not sure if it supports video at the moment. Blue Sky.
It supports. If you have it on YouTube, you can link it to YouTube and it plays but you can't, inside the app.
Yeah, that's right. You can't upload videos directly to it, so we can't upload
if it's less than a minute you
clips. You can't. I've tried it.
It says you can, but yeah,
anyway,
man.
I just wanted to mention the Olympics. I watched his performance and that was all good.
You watched it?
Opening ceremony, yeah. So it's nothing against Nigel, but wasn't that pretty shit, that ceremony? Everyone says how good it was. It just looks like completely chaotic bullshit to me.
Well, not in comparison to Paris's effort this year. Much better than Paris. I thought it was good.
People are nostalgic for that time, aren't they?
Yeah, pre-Brexit.
Exactly.
The Spice Girls on the bus and stuff, didn't they?
The Queen jumped out of a helicopter.
That was good. I quite like that.
Mr. Bean playing
Mr. Bean,
keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
The Who, didn't they? With Morgan Nichols playing
Dizzy Rascal doing bonkers. That was good.
Yeah,
all right, yeah. I think I'm just thinking about the bit that Nigel was doing when it was like...
it was all good except for that performance.
Yeah.
Just Nigel's drumming on the hill.
Just Nigel's drumming. Ruined the whole ceremony.
You're no better than that 6x7 guy.
Exactly. You're like Top Loader and 6x7 guy rolled into one.
That's it for this one. So if you are watching, then please do give it a thumbs up. Get involved in the comments. Let us know your favourite Unbelievable Truth tracks, gigs, albums, memories. Get in there, get involved in the comments. And if you're listening, then please do rate and review and share it with your friends. Share it with your friends. That's the best thing to do. Say, I found this really good podcast. You might want to have a listen. Sorry, I didn't really need to explain that bit, did I? That people know how to do it.
I think people... No, they don't. They don't. As much guidance as possible, man. If it's your first time tuning in, we got an archive of, over 60 episodes in there with all of your favourite 90s indie stars. So get stuck into the archive and I'm sure you'll find something you like. There's a playlist, a Spotify playlist for every episode as well. So especially if you are new to the Unbelievable Truth, then put some tracks on there for you to listen to. Other stuff we talked about today, Born Shit Stirrers. Thanks again to John Bates for the records. Legend, mate. Yeah.
Can you put Finest Little Space on the playlist, please?
Oh, it's a good one. I like that one too.
All right.
He doesn't like people asking to put stuff on it, does he?
No, I do. I welcome input.
You're going to have to put Dancing in the Moonlight on there as well.
No.
Nah, fuck those guys.
Might put the original version on.
Yes, do that.
Yeah.
Despite
they won't get any credit for it.
Despite them.
Do that. Just so they can show. People can see that's not even the best version of that song.
Yeah.
Haven't even got that.
All right.
For that one. All right, but that's it for this one. Dave.
See you in a minute.